pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, just for the record, well, welcome. Got to see an eye. Anyway, as a public comment,
I'm just bringing 1 or 2 things. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
okay, but moisture we received this morning in forecast for tomorrow and Wednesday. We were supposed to put on mag chloride tomorrow and do the streets today. And that was postponed because of weather. So now we're looking at the 19th of May for mag chloride. So the 17th and 18th will be grading ahead of that. And we'll want to put that up as a notice probably in post office that mag chloride will be on 19th. So we don't have a bunch of cars on the road that got salted. Anyway, it's really not a zoning board announcement, but it's something that concerns all of us. Under new business, pass and vote to approve minutes of the March 26th zoning board meeting. Everybody had a chance to look at those minutes? Pretty short and sweet and to the point. I found nothing that I was going to argue with.
I just have a few things. This is Josh. So the only thing that I have is under number 3, bullet point down in the bottom, it says open to public comments. And it says Pete Olson made a public comment.
Yes.
Nothing, there's no dissertation there to see what he actually said. So
yeah,
I have 2 suggestions. One, I believe he talked about zoning. I think he talked about PUDs, and I think he talked about the signs being taken down from the previous meeting that were still needed to be addressed. So I'm going to make a suggestion here that maybe we do something for the town. I looked into a subscription, so I know Stacy, the town has a Gmail account.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a solution that I think we can do to everything to make not only this meeting, but other town meetings easier. And it's called Google Meet.
Oh, yeah.
And Google Meet is only $12 a month. The town can subscribe to it. And then you basically turn it on and it will write all of the notes for you. AI will take exact notes, and then nobody has to hand type anything. And we don't have any errors, omissions, anything left out.
Yeah.
And I'm just making the comment, not that we need to have that filled in, but for future meetings, I think it would be good, instead of just saying made a public comment, that it's actually recorded what he actually said, or for any matter, for what anybody says. So one of my solutions, and we don't talk about it, but maybe it's discussion, and then maybe this is for you guys, for the trustees to decide. But if we do get the Google Meet, we could transcribe meetings. And all of this can be captured instead of having to rely on cost of product.
So actually, Zoom has that option as well. And they're great. You still have to go over them because it doesn't catch everything right. I've used them before.
Yeah.
But the reason it's like that is because that is how I was instructed to do public comments. They just don't get detailed out in the minutes. I don't know why.
I don't know if it's a state statute. There's no, the town attorney said that the public comments aren't typically put in the minutes of the meeting.
Okay.
But I don't know why.
I didn't know why either. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, but and I'm interested. I'm open to looking into that further and having this be like a more detailed.
My only thing is like if it was for a record, right, and anybody made any comment about anything,
yeah,
it would just be nice to have it annotated that somebody could go back and actually. If it's a state statute, then leave it out.
What I don't know is because I thought I'd gone into previous recordings and pulled the transcript up in Zoom.
I have turned on the AI assistant a few times to see what that would look like.
6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
I know it was transcribed because it's quite interesting. In particular, certain people, what's transcribed and what's actually said versus what's transcribed.
Yeah.
I might be one of those people, I don't know why, but I've read it, like, that's not what I said.
Fair, fair. Yes, sometimes it is more
I
interpretive.
can guarantee. But I do know that in trustee meetings, when I've commented, for example, that it makes a statement that scares them to comment.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go into depth on it at all. And I think this is something that our trustees need to handle rather than the zoning board.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so if they want to commit money to this AI nonsense, I don't understand it. I was raised, you believe nothing you hear and only half what you see, and now with AI, I don't know about what I see. But yes, I think this is something, Stacy, we want to make sure the trustees get a note from us that it's up to them. Yes, go ahead, catch your mic there so that Roger can hear, please. Ramon's going to speak, Roger.
Find out.
I've served on many boards.
So,
The comment is very, very seldom.
so
The minutes for a couple of reasons, namely, the public does not have access to the minutes before they're approved. And even if you did make them available before they're approved, it's gonna add probably a half an hour to your meetings. So it just, I have been on boards where some, but not all of the public comments, just a general statement might be made that's really usually not very controversial. But if you start involving the public in the minutes, you just don't want to go there. It gets deep and long. Yeah. All right, thank you, Ramon. All right, Roger, do you have any comments on the minutes as printed?
I'll take them off.
Oh.
I think you.
I did.
Roger.
I don't know.
Did you hear me?
Okay.
There we go. Okay, no, I don't have any comments.
We lost you.
So I'm good. I'm not sure.
There we go.
Hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any comments.
I could. Look it up.
Ed? You didn't speak.
I know.
All right, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
No,
Second.
no.
I thought that was wrong.
Oh, did Roger make the motion?
Roger, did you make the motion?
Oh,
I'll second. I'll second one.
Roger, did you make a motion to approve the minutes?
As printed.
I'll second the motion.
Did you make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the March 19th, 2026 meeting minutes. This is Josh.
Awesome. Any more discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
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 Roger?
Aye. Yeah. Did you get that response?
Yes, would you vote yes or no to approve the minutes as the motion was made by Josh?
Yes, I approve that message.
Thank you. All right, unanimous, we got the minutes approved as written. Moving on down now, with possible action for recommendation to the Board of Trustees on zoning code proposal and revision. And, can you walk us through what you have printed up there, please, Ed, so that, the public on Zoom knows what we're doing?
I will. So we did receive from Levi, his assistant, some differences that they found between the proposed 2026 zoning code and what is in the 2018 building code. So what we did with that is Rachel sent me the findings that she and Levi came across. Put it in the Word document, sent it to me. I forwarded it to our town attorney. And the town attorney and her team went through each item and then gave some legal advice on each one of the items. So, in passing it on to Jesse, what he thought or what we thought for the zoning board to do, the zoning board can only give a recommendation to the board of trustees. And we thought we'd go through each item, see what the legal advice was, and see if there was anything differently the zoning board might want to recommend. And then also input from Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, what are you paying?
Give us the information if we need it. So that's really the intent of what part of the zoning code revisions that we want to look at tonight. So I'll just start off with the first one. It was under section 12, you mentioned fences requiring a permit from who? So who issues the fence permits? Whether it could be the building inspector, could be administrative, handled administratively. So the legal advice Kelly and her team was there's not a need to provide a specific person in the code, but we could handle that administratively. So I guess I'd look at it as maybe the zoning board might give a recommendation on who we believe who would issue the fence permits. So Jesse, take it if you want to take it from there. You want to say?
And we do have a fence permit application form. And on it, it asks for 2 signatures of zoning board members. And that's primarily due to setback requirements, or no setback requirements. And so if Hillary is happy, and my feeling is that recommendations by our attorney, and that's the person who's going to represent us if we have a problem. I have a tendency to want to follow exactly as she said there. Now, I don't totally understand what administratively totally encompasses, except I know it probably starts with Stacy. Is that what you feel?
It could start with Stacy. It could be an administrative decision, but Board of Trustees of who actually does, who issues the fence permits. And I mean, I'll just say the fence permit is a $75 fee for a fence permit. Yes, is what currently is on the fee schedule. The building inspector does 65% of that fee, or of a building permit fee. So I would be inclined to let the building inspector review the fence permits, and we'll get to application fees in a little bit, but let the building inspector handle the fence permits. They do require, like you said, Jesse, 2 zoning board members to sign off on them for setbacks. So that's my one person thought.
Rachel, would you grab that microphone, please? You might just sit there if it's in your lap. Okay, we got Rachel on Zoom. Or Zoomers, we have Rachel on the floor here now. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to work with the zoning board. There is a provision or a rule in the 2018 IRC International Residential Code that any permit over 7 feet triggers a building permit. So I agree with what Ed is saying. If you keep it in the building department, you're not sometimes using one avenue and sometimes using another avenue. It's just all streamlined. And while I understand the attorney's statement that it doesn't need to go in the zoning code, my concern is for the applicant and just that if there is a person in Pitkin that would like a fence, that it's really clear how they do it. But whether that's stated in here or it's in a different place, I just think for the applicant's sake, it needs to be clear.
And I do know in the past, we always went through the building inspector and he brought the fence permits to us. And I like that, probably over run it through Stacy. She's got a lot of responsibilities anyways. And she is very important for recording everything that takes place and handling all monies and all that stuff. But I don't want to harm her with more responsibility. I definitely, on this issue, agree that it starts with the building inspector and it follows the trustee or the zoning board and then it's invisible. Unless that it's been denied, then it still has opportunity for that person to apply to the trustees and appeal it. So I'm happy with that kind of a setup. Now, how you want it worded, trustees, that's up to you.
Okay, so I think we want to hear from the other zoning board members first, but as you're talking, I'm also thinking that it could be in the ordinance. I mean, we could spell it out in the ordinance. But I also think that might be able to go into the building permit application as well. And it could be spelled out. I don't think we need to get hung up on this one real long tonight.
Josh.
This is Josh. I think it should be housed and controlled by the building department. Just my personal opinion. I think the building department is up on regulations regarding fences, and I think that permit should be handled by the building department.
Okay, Roger, would you give us your input on this, please? Try again.
Oh, he's muted. You're muted, Roger.
You want to show me anything?
There, we heard you clear your throat.
You're still muted, Roger. We cannot hear you.
Roger, we're not hearing you, and you're not muted on this end. Welcome to Zoom.
Okay, can you hear me now? Nope, can't hear me.
Yes,
Now we can.
Can you hear me?
yes, sir.
Okay, my concern about fence and the people giving the
Yeah.
permits is there's survey issues with property lines when you put up fences. I don't know anybody in town qualified to certify anything in terms of where a fence should go. We can talk about setbacks, front and back, etc., etc. But I think fence issue is between the neighbors, where the fence is going to be, what kind of fence it might be, etc., etc. I mean, it's so complicated that there's not a one size fits all solution.
Well, Roger, are you in agreement that we go ahead and keep it posted in the zoning code that applicant takes their request to the building inspector? And then building inspector follows through and seeks signature of 2 zoning board members before it's finalized and approved to go ahead and build?
Well, if the building inspector is willing to do this,
Well, Ed mentioned earlier, he gets 65% of the $75 application fee. So it does justify his time. And,
okay.
yes. So we will include you with Jess and Josh on our comment to leave it basically the way we've been doing it in the past. Thank you.
Okay, well, I can see handing them a paperwork and requirements and say, good luck, talk to your neighbors, talk to your surveyors, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, the town cannot be responsible for where these, fences are located. And that's what I'm afraid the permit is going to do, is authorize something
Roger.
that we can't really authorize.
Yeah, and it's really not becomes the building inspector's responsibility to say it's legal, because he's gonna go from pins and that are already there, whether they're right or wrong or indifferent. You know, there's always scuttlebutt about pins not being exactly where they belong, and it's probably amazing 1880 surveys and 2026 surveys that they're as close as they are. But the main thing is that we have a process to make the applicant happy and get his fence.
So is the recommendation from the zoning board, building inspector could issue the fence permit. We still have 2 ZBA members.
I would say he receives the permit or the request for a permit, and then, follows through to see. Actually filling out the applicant's form that we have on file.
Right.
Okay. My suggestion would be, and this is part of what's allowable under the administrative part, but a fence permit could be very simple. And a building permit is not simple.
Right.
So just to create a fence permit, and it is already going through the building department, it just doesn't say that it is. And so to keep liability down, just like say whose job it is.
So are you saying in the ordinance, or is it okay to put it in this application?
I would like to see it in the zone. That the building department issues building. Later on, we'll talk about sign. You say zoning board issues sign permit. That's pretty clear. Well, unless you want to change it. So in this case, the building department issues. That's my suggestion.
We are so fortunate to have a trustee on this board today. Adequate notes, so that he and our clerk can get our attorney included.
I gotta put notes so I can remember what I mean.
Yeah.
That's explained before.
We will give you time to get it through.
And for reference, we worked on this. We actually created a fence permit.
Yes, we have a form.
Is it online?
It's actually not been put in place yet because it's not included in 2022.
It's after the 22.
You can send me an email or a text and I'll remember to send it. I can do it tonight here. Okay, so I think I understand that one. That was the easy one. Okay, so we okay on that one?
Yes. Josh,
Yes.
Roger, you're okay now?
Yes, I like the comment on the legal portion of it that says it can be handled administratively, probably that would be town council.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next one then. And I think the recommendation from Rachel Levi will add language that states the building department may adopt policies and procedures such as building permits and related documents to effectively administer the requirements of all codes adopted by reference in the town of ordinance. Where local ordinances are stricter than adopted codes, the local ordinance will prevail. And Hillary's team says it's already a feature of the code in section 21, specifically 21B. And we can pull that up, 21.
Yeah, it says this code shall be interpreted and applied to the extent required for the proper protection of public health, general welfare and promotional safety. Whenever a conflict exists between these provisions and the other lawful adopted rules, regulations, resolutions, or ordinances, the one which is the most restrictive or that imposes a higher standard shall apply. If any provision of this code or the application thereof is held invalid, such invalidity shall not affect the remaining provisions or application of this code, which can be given effect without the invalid provision or application. You can tell the way it runs. And to the end, the provisions of this codes are declared to be separable. That's the one she's referencing.
Yep.
Yes.
So are you inferring that I didn't like that?
Either that or AI.
Not. Okay, so ZBA. Okay.
No action.
Well, we'll just put you there, thank you.
In agreement.
All right. Almost. Two down. All right, so then. The next one is no mention of codes adopted by reference anywhere in the zoning code. Generally or specifically as it applies to building permits. And I think the recommendation will list all codes and regulations affecting building in the town of Pitkin. I know the 22 zoning code just stated we're gonna use the international residential code, didn't say which version. And I know no, it didn't. No. And that was one I had heartburn on because a long time ago, and this was going like 2 years ago, I asked the question to various people, which building code are we using? And I got 4 different answers. And then it was only when we found the ordinance that we were using 97 code. So Hillary's recommendation was it's got to be in the ordinance as to which code we're using. And that is, we have adopted that ordinance. So we use building code. And we've adopted the ordinance that we are using, the wildfire resiliency code and the international energy code in 2021. So we're not stuck with 2024.
Does that line in those ordinances will need to be referenced? Meaning that the zoning code should reference them?
Okay, so her comment here is those ordinances will need to be referenced. In the zoning code, and she did a red line on that. It references to see that those ordinances for the proper codes that we're used for. So that has been handled. Let me verify. Because she sent me the red line that they did for section 17. Let's see if I can find it quickly. If I can't find it quickly, I'm gonna put a note in there to make sure. Don't see it specifically in 17, and before it was towards the end. I thought when I talked to her, I thought she said that she included that in the red line. So, okay. Then I'm gonna put a note on here. That we. Or to be referenced. And I don't think I don't think it's gonna say the specific zoning code, but it's gonna say the ordinance that we should refer to. Okay. I'm gonna move on to the next one, that okay?
Yep.
Yes, I'm ready. Roger, you ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, that one's complicated. But yeah, we need to reference where this information is located. It's not always going to be in the zoning code. So that people can find out, where this stuff is. We're throwing an awful lot of this responsibility on building inspector to notify everybody where all the specific stuff is. Job's just getting bigger all the time.
So Roger, one thing that maybe you haven't seen is Levi and Rachel have been working on a building permit application packet. Which is really just an administrative packet that could specify which code we're actually using there. If we put it in the ordinance, here's what Hillary told me. If we specify the exact building code in the ordinance, then if we want to change that building code at a later date, we have to update the zoning code ordinance and the building code ordinance. And it's twice as much work. So you reference the codes set in separate ordinances so that they could be updated individually when a code is updated. But it could easily be put in the building permit application packet as to which wildfire resiliency code we're using instead of the WUI code, the energy code we're using, the building code version that we're using, and then that could be updated easily as an administrative function rather than it going through an ordinance after the ordinance has been updated. Would that
Yes,
help?
sounds like a good plan.
All right.
Roger, have you received that potential application packet that Rachel and Levi put together? If not, I'll get it to you. Anyway, yeah, let's get one to you because it is, if I were an applicant out there, brand new to Pitkin and wanting to do one of these permits, it's pretty self-explanatory and takes you through it step by step. So wonderfully put together. So we'll get that to you, Roger. And with no more further to do, Ed, I'll move to the next section, please.
Okay, so next section. With recommendation is add language such as an electronic set of building construction plans that are stamped and signed by Colorado licensed engineer architect shall be submitted as part of a complete application for all structural projects. For example, projects containing footings, roof decks above 30 inches in grade, not otherwise exempt in the IRC building code. The beauty of doing that is that places the liability should something go wrong with that structure. That places a liability on the engineer and not on the building inspector. One thing I'll throw out there since I just brought it up there. Our building inspector has always been a contract worker. So if the building inspector signs off on something on a building permit and then it fails, there is legal recourse against the building inspector, not necessarily against the town. That's the difference between having a contract inspector and a town employee as an inspector. So I think we. I think we need to have some protection for the building inspector.
I think that's as important as the town of Pitkin also.
And Hillary's team has added that to 17B already for me. Let me verify that. Number 3 there, she revised some language on. Now, I'm gonna throw something out there, because I know I've been hit with it from other people that they brought up. Is that all building construction companies in the town of Pitkin, do they have to be a licensed engineer to draw the plans up? I've always personally, I've kind of taken the thought that if it's a commercial building, a residential home, 2-story garage, those ought to be engineered. A single-story garage or shed wouldn't have to be engineered, but that's just have been my thoughts in talking to people in town about if we're going to require a really engineered drawing for something that's in the garage. This, the way I see it, actually written, even a 200 square foot shed may need to be engineered the way it's written, I believe.
Yes, I'm in agreement. And back when we didn't have a building inspector, after Rand resigned back when, and the zoning board at that time specified certified bonded engineered plans for home, commercial. I don't remember actually listing garage back then, but just to get the monkey off the town of Pitkin's back, they put it on somebody that was certified and bonded. And so I like that. Now we had exceptions for a porch, deck, patio, maybe even a roof over a existing porch. I know Tom's been very able to look at engineered plans of other roofs over porches, for example, and the new applicant has followed that and had no problems. So however you trustees want that, but I definitely feel like home, commercial. And I could go along with the garage. Now, other accessory buildings, such as a yard shed, for example, or something similar to that, I don't know that they need to be engineered, stamped, bonded signature. What's your feelings, Josh?
I like the fact I'd keep it the way it is. Have somebody that's licensed. Because if it's unlicensed, then there's liability concerns that it could be anybody drawing it up with. Who knows the competency of that person that's actually creating the plans. So I would keep it the way it is. And most of the sheds and anything that's under 200 square feet don't need a building plan, don't need plans. So that's my opinion.
Agree. Roger, you on that track?
Yeah, I think we're good with that. I think if you're going to live in it, you need it engineered because it includes water, sewer, everything, plot plan. I mean, the whole meal deal. And yeah, if you're going to live in it, have it engineered. Otherwise, the other structures, that's on you if they fall down, you and your contractor.
I'm not totally clear what is it. Roger's saying if you live in it, it has to be engineered. So do you want everything above 200 square foot has to be a licensed engineer, Colorado licensed engineer? Or Do you want to just think of commercial buildings or residential buildings that are gonna be lived in? Or two-story garages that are gonna be lived in? Engineer.
But the only difference in a one-story garage and a two-story garage, the roofs are gonna be the same. Footings might be a little bit stronger. There might be a specification difference with studs, for example, on the lower level, to support it. I would like, if I were building a two-story garage, I would want it to be strong enough to stand in snow loads. So therefore, I want somebody to put the monkey on a certified bonded engineer.
Okay, I'm just gonna be real simple then. You want a licensed, Colorado licensed engineer to design a 10 by 20 shed. That's what I'm hearing. That's what you want. That's what
Well, no, I think Josh was saying over that 120 square feet, which I think Hillary mentioned in here is 200.
it's 200 square feet in the 18 building. Does anything over 200 square feet needs a building?
Yes, that's what I go along.
So if it's a 10 by 20 shed, you want it to be a Colorado licensed engineer.
Yes, sir. And anything over that 120 square feet of a yard shed and a carport, I believe it is, however it's listed in our code right now.
So
Those do not require building permits. They do require setback inspections.
under 200 square feet won't require.
Yes,
So if, I'm being devil's advocate, because I don't want someone to come back 2 months from now and say, why the hell did you pass that? So if someone comes up here and says, I have a shed that I'm gonna bring in from Kansas, and it's got a Kansas licensed engineer stamp on it, this will not allow.
correct, unless it was as stringent or more than the Colorado
No,
code was.
no, this says has to be signed by a Colorado licensed engineer. That's the point I'm trying to make, is the way it's worded here, it says construction plans that are stamped and signed by a Colorado licensed engineer or architect shall be submitted as part of the complete application for all structural projects.
I think the reason why they're mentioning Colorado is because if you were licensed in stuff, know the regulations of Colorado. And I think that's why they're calling it Colorado. So, I mean, everybody can have their own opinion. I think it should be enhanced. I think we should set the standard high. I think anything over 200 square feet should require a licensed engineer to sign off.
Roger, are you in agreement with Josh?
Yeah, I think you can make this work. Most trusses are, sold locally. They're designed for snow loads. You got to specify what that is when you order up trusses. If it's a hand-built roof or something, then, but yeah, getting an engineer stamp on a set of drawings doesn't mean you have to have, architectural drawing specifically, just so you specify. A lot of engineers will sign off, particularly for contractors. And, get something on paper with their stamp on it. So that's not unreasonable.
Thank you, Roger. So Ed, you have the impression that what Josh and Roger and Jess are saying is an agreement as the way it's printed right there?
Yeah,
That would be my recommendation to the trustees for their meeting.
so then, all I'm gonna put here is that there's no action required by the zoning board, says there's no action.
Agreed. Sure. Yeah.
I want to thank you all for your support. My concern is liability, and as Mr. Ronaldo pointed out, it is a subcontractor position, and even when it isn't Levi. There's, as you guys have said, there's a lot of factors that go into building in Colorado that other places just don't consider, and somebody has to do the checking. So this, the Colorado engineers doing the checking. And just to put your minds at ease, I did talk with an engineer, and her recommendation was very strongly that this be adopts that vision. And I know, not to put things in front, but the very next item, change it. That at least gives people the leeway to build, you know, a 9 by shed, government shed, and not have it fly. So
And I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I was saying or when I was asking questions. By me asking the questions, I'm not leaning one way or the other. I just want everybody on the zoning board to understand and the board of trustees to understand. If this is passed and then someone comes back and says, why the heck did the zoning board agree that it needs to be called like Colorado licensed engineer? I want everybody to understand that's what we're saying. Because I know it's gonna get brought up and it's perfectly fine, but as long as everybody understands, yes, that's what we want. You know?
Yeah, and
Each one of you can defend your.
I reference back to James Sharpen years ago, and the snow load up here needs to be somebody that's well acquainted. And that should be covered. So anyway, yes, I'm happy. Next.
All right. So then, the next one is minimum square footage requiring a building permit is 120 square feet, but the 2018 IRC does say it doesn't exceed 200 square feet. So Hillary's team has added that already, changed it from 120 to 200 square feet.
you can be more strict. It just helps people that want to build that 9 by.
Sure. And if I can go back to Ralph Bush, I think it was a 2020 or somewhere back in their code. We based that off of the storage sheds that the county was allowing, for example, in Quartz Creek properties. As long as it didn't exceed 100 square feet, it did not require a building permit. And so that's where our 120 feet from, as far as I know. But this 200 lets me build just a little bit bigger, and most storage sheds are too small at 1 square feet. So I'm happy with 200. And I think Hillary's got us covered there. Roger or Josh, you have any?
I'm good the way it's written and changed.
Roger,
Yes,
you-
I'm happy with 200 square feet.
Right. On to the next, but no action required on that one. Numbers 1 and 2 are confusing. Storage sheds 120. Don't require a permit, but require setback verification for a fee. And then storage sheds over 120 that are relocated require setback verification for a fee. So I'm reading through here. All structures constructed, enlarged, altered, repaired, moved, demolished, or converted, changed in use includes non-structural walls and anchors, should require a permit. That's under the 18 code. The town can exempt structures based on size, but if there's no permit required, the setback verification will be enforced by the zoning board. Any structure that's moved requires a building. It's kind of inconsistent with comment above.
I think she's talking about like 120. But change it to 200 and it still applies. The question is confusing. It's a confusing thing.
Okay, so clarify that a single structure under 200 square feet does not need a permit, but it may make sense to delete the shed exemption entirely. So let me go to.
While you're looking there, maybe any kind of a structure that's put on my property needs verification that it meets the setbacks. Whether it's adjacent property owner, front yard or backyard to a lane or alley. It needs to be verified the setback is abided by.
I would agree with that. So here's what they redlined it at, so I'll read it. And see if it's kind of hard to read with all these lines in there and other words, but here's essentially what it says. The building of a one-story detached structure with a floor area of 200 square feet does not, including storage sheds, does not require permit, must meet all applicable town laws, including without limitation, meeting setback requirements and paying all applicable fees, including for setback verification. And then limit of one non-permitted structure per site. Additional storage sheds shall require a building permit. The structure must be a freestanding accessory structure and cannot attach to any other structure without a permit.
So there is a setback verification fee in this.
Then I go to the fee schedule. And is yeah, it's gonna have to be added. There would have to be a setback fee. There's a setback review for fence, but we could do the same thing for a setback for a building under 200
I
square.
would just use the same fee too, $75 and just call it a back for you. You could, if they have in parentheses their fence and setback review, you could just remove the parentheses and just put fence and or setback review.
I want to clarify fence
Okay.
and
Yeah. And just put it on
buildings under 200 square feet setback.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that one I can't modify and look at, but okay, I can do it here though. Oops. So we're okay with the verbiage in the way they rewrote it in the code?
I like the way that you, yes.
Do you understand the confusion?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
clear it up. The next one.
Okay, so here I'm gonna put ZBA
But to your point, Ed, we just need to make a line item on the fee schedule.
and line item on fee schedule
Under building.
for. And I'm gonna do it this one, fence, I'm gonna type it in fence. And. Building less than. You, absolutely,
$75.
okay, just leave that alone.
We're gonna talk about what it's gonna cost to relocate a structure, because it requires setback review. So this is to place a structure.
Okay, how about placing and relocation?
Visiting class relocating. And it can be the same fee, but
Structure less than.
well, placing or relocating any structure triggers setback verification.
That's true, that's true.
So placing / relocation setback verification is what I. Although maybe we need to do the relocation fee separate, I guess I need to think about this. Or just call it setback verification.
Sure.
This is really the whole issue of, these structures and the requirements for, everything from engineering to the building or the building code, whatnot. Where does, especially if it's over 200 square feet, I guess. Where does shipping containers and railroad cars fit in.
So those would be a shipping container, if it's over the 200 square feet, would be an accessory.
That's for use building.
I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how it's working. Yeah, as an accessory building not attached. Railroad car, if it's for storage, would be the same way.
Does that mean that it's exempt from the requirements of engineering and
Oh, as far as the engineering, if it's over 200 square feet. I don't know,
I know currently, and there's several storage units even used as a commercial storage rental for 20 feet by 8 feet. They're already in town. And we have several that are being used now as, you might say, garages. At one case where a engineered storage unit larger than that was brought in and totally insulated and brought in, but it did have Colorado electric inspections and Colorado plumbing inspections. But it was finished before that. So all electric, for example, was put on conduit on the inside of the interior walls.
and that was for residential use?
Yeah. But just storage, we've not seen any of those requirements except that.
Here's part of the reason I have, is what I see in town seems to get bigger and bigger. I don't know about the 200 square feet, but even less than that, one's okay. But we've got multiple places where there are more than one of these containers. And that, going back to that exemption, that would make them not exempt. And so that's what I'm just trying to understand is what requirements should they, under what you're doing, what requirements should they have to meet?
I don't have the answer. I don't know if our attorney will weigh in on it before the trustees. But I'll give the example over on Fifth Street where there are three of them side by side. And that was a kit coming out of Canada. And the sidewall of two of them were cut out and tied together to make a basically 16-foot wide by 30-foot long, 20-foot long. And he showed me the kit that put those together. I thought it was pretty pricey to still have, individual containers, but I'm not worried about the snow load because the way they stack them on ships and on trains and stuff to move them, they stack one right on top of the other. I have not seen any of them, even when Tom had in his storage unit, that ever had the snow load that bothered the roofs at all. But you bring a good question from on, and I think it's something probably we need to get Hillary to weigh in on.
So I've written it down as one of the notes here to ask, and I put storage containers, how do they fall under the licensed Colorado engineer? What less or greater than 200 square feet, just see where we go with that. It's a good point.
Very good point.
Well, the reason I ask this question is because where you're going with all of this, I don't object to it. But what I see happening, because I've seen it happen, even with much lesser restrictions, is you're gonna start hearing someone come in and say, well, he didn't have to do this, why do I have to? And you need to be ready to answer that question and how it fits.
My answer to that, he did on the 22 zoning code or the 26 zoning code or the 22 zoning code. When you do it, it has to be under the current code.
I agree with that as we go forward. If someone puts in a storage container, if they put it in under the 22 code, it is what it is. But going forward, if we have someone that brings one in and we say as an example, oh, it's a storage container, it's an accessory building, it doesn't have to be engineered. But then someone else interprets it and says, well, yeah, it should be because it's over 200 square feet. That's the part I want to get clarified, and I think that's what you're bringing up, I think.
Yeah.
Is it like,
It's kind of, this, but it's been around for a long, long time trying to deal with it. And it's, I think, the whole aspect is, worthy of, asking the attorney the specifics on this. Because the other thing that, when I hear, the requirement of Colorado engineer, which seems to be pretty basic for most things, but the state has very specific laws on manufactured homes. And a manufactured home doesn't have to come from Colorado. And so you just need, I would ask the attorney, what do we need to say about these? So we're covered under Colorado statutes as well as covering our own butts to get something safe in here.
good point.
Thank you, Ramon. Forward.
Okay, so we were talking about adding a line item on fee schedule for placement location setback.
And I would put in here, I'm happy with the $75.
Oh, that's what I was not putting. I was gonna put for the C's. $75 if they're in agreement.
So are we saying too, just to clarify, so if we're changing the storage shed or shipping container or whatever to under 200 square feet, we only have one per property?
No, well, so the whole storage container issue, I think Hillary's got to address that for us to see if the storage container is under 200 square feet, it's an accessory building under the fee schedule. If it's greater than 200 square feet, how does that fit in to, it has to be a Colorado license? I think we need clarification on that. And I don't think we can do anything with that part of it until we get information from them.
I believe where we're standing right now, probably if I were to bring in a quote tiny house that we dealt with back up the road several years ago, it would be probably engineered and built in Colorado. I don't see bringing one in from Kansas and trying to get it legal for Colorado.
Okay, so for a quote tiny home, that is absolutely true because the state of Colorado has set some tiny home rules.
Right.
But what everybody needs to be aware of is there's companies out there that are building what looks like tiny homes, but are on trailers and they are classified as RVs. And they go through the RV certification, and the state stand on those is it's an RV. The only thing we can look at is electrical hookups. And possibly the state won't even look at the septic system because that's done by the plumbing. They won't even look at the plumbing inside of the unit.
Oh, but I would have thought septic was the same as plumbing.
No, septic falls under the OWTS guidelines. It's under the town. But if a Colorado inspector for electrical and plumbing comes in and if they see RV tag on it, they will not look at that building at all. And we as the town will not look at that building as an inspection, building inspection, because it's got the RV certification, which is a whole different certification as the manufacturing home system. And it's kind of. I just say it's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, okay, I think we've beat that up enough. Let's move on, please.
Okay. All right. Next one is no proof of ownership requirement for building permit applicant. And the request is that we require proof of ownership in the form of a warranty deed, which can be obtained through the county clerk. Recorder.
25 cents.
Is that all it is?
That's not- Okay.
Wow.
You
Okay.
want, you want to get it digitally, it's $5.
Wow. Cool. So, I mean, I'll be open on this one. When I first read it, my first thought was, well, this is Pitkin. Really have to have a warranty deed? But then as I thought about it, this is Pitkin, where we
Be some slack.
well, where we have maybe grandpa and grandma own the house, but the grandkids come out and enjoy it all the time, and grandpa and grandma can't come out or whatever. I'm just using some examples. And all of a sudden, the kids decide, or grandkids decide they want to do something, and they get a building permit and they add on to it. And there was no proof of ownership.
And grandpa and grandma paid the added tax.
Yeah, and then that unfortunately, that liability does not fall on the town, it falls upon buildings.
Well, Hillary says added, so I'm happy.
I'm in 100% agreement. A warranty deed can be done, it can be added, you can get it quick, and we just found out it's pretty cheap.
Happy, Rachel?
Yes, so happy.
Okay, let's move on. Yeah.
Now you're cheap. Next one, no. Okay. List of documentation of the company application is incomplete. Do not list this inside the zoning code because it will change its projects and applicable codes. Or write down the minimum required, only stating that the building department may require additional info. Defensible space plan, EV solar ready, IECC plan are done by the design professional. They amended that in the code already. So I think we're okay there.
I'm in agreement. Josh?
I'm good.
Roger?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you. And I guess that's good. So wonderful. Rachel, not going backwards. No. She said yes, yes. Awesome. Thank you. Moving right on the height.
Okay. Oh, I just want to make sure I put this in there so I don't say that we actually talked about it. I'm trying to do a quick copy and paste and I didn't like it, so. Okay. Heights and size of all buildings or structures, add word existing in front of buildings, and it was added with clarification on Elm Street. Did you see that in the Rachel? Okay, because I did not look at that one specifically. All right, then the next one, we okay? I guess we'll okay with one. All right, contains the word signs. Remove signs reference. Come on, go away a second. I need. ZBA approves permits is a sign permit or explicitly place signs under the building department. Building department could issue specific sign permit as requested. So, okay, so from Hillary's team, the signs have been left in the code, signs the structures in the town regulates. Yeah.
We're in the left column where the B is, referencing the B. And I wasn't saying. All applications for building permits shall be accompanied by an accurate drawing to scale. This, location of proposed buildings, fences, and signs. So my point is just, if the building department is doing signs, it's fine, in section B. If the building department is not doing signs, it should come out of the building permit section and Stick. Not suggesting it.
So,
Traditionally, it sounds like the building department has verified setbacks on sides, and that's fine. They could have administratively a sign permit, just like a fence permit. I just think it needs to be clear to the applicant who they're asking and to the person doing it, who's doing it. That's my only reason. I get there. Change.
This is Josh. I think the signs, I think I don't know. Thing that's come up several times within the zoning board, and I think it could maybe alleviate some of that stress. I think the building department should be in charge of signs. Not only setbacks, but design and then approve them. It doesn't have to be, it could be on the fee schedule that we have. Under building, and we just put a sign permit, and maybe it's just $10, $15, I don't know, $20 one time fee. But at least this gives the building permit, the building department, the ability to look at the sign, look at what it's gonna look like, the character, is it gonna fit within the town, and does it match the setbacks? That's my personal opinion.
I think you're too cheap. I don't wanna get below $75 because of the time it's gonna take. No, it's just a stuff,
I agree with you, Jeff.
because of the time. Stuff like that, make sure it's inside.
I didn't think about that, I agree with you. So maybe maybe we just keep it at 75, and that's kind of what we're doing for the fence setback and everything else, so I think it should be added to the fee schedule, and the sign should be regular.
And I don't believe it should have any less requirements than it fits. Same interests
Yeah.
of the town are involved.
So. It specifically says that the zoning board grants sign permit. I don't think,
and that was a mistype, I don't think that was ever the intent.
so she didn't mention that's been removed.
Yeah, and that's, I'm adding more, so. Fee schedule should show. Sign. Yeah. Recommendation is 75 is what I heard.
Yep.
It must have 76. And then, okay, Rachel, what was the second part here? Okay, zone. Currently. Yes. Okay, here's signs.
Do you know the search feature? I think it's man up and then.
It's page 8, and it's section 15.
Right there. Issued by the zoning board of adjustment. Okay. Okay, so section 15, I'm gonna put it here, so.
Yeah, just the top of it. Issued by the, should just be building department. And then I think like Rachel said, and like the attorney said, I just leave all the section 15 still as it is. Just with that change, and then add the fee schedule.
Okay. All right, we're okay with that one?
Yes, sir. Roger, you still on our page?
More.
You're getting close.
Okay, so we're just going to plot plan reference, change to site plan. To correlate to industry language, and Hillary's already said it's amended here and throughout,
I'm good with this one.
so it says plot plan.
Now it's the site plan.
Oh, change the site plan. Okay, ZBA. Yes, site plan makes more sense. All right. Jesse, okay?
Yes, I'm just taking some notes.
Okay. Okay, permit extension is less strict, does not match the building. 2018 building. So well, I'm gonna go ahead and speak a little bit of what the zoning board did in the last 2 years. Because previously in the 2022 zoning code, building permits were good for 2 years. And we had quite a bit of discussion because of Pitkin with the weather. Sometimes construction gets drug out. And sometimes 2 years isn't long enough. So we discussed it, or zoning board discussed it about a year ago, that maybe we ought to go to 3 years with extensions at a charge. So maybe you're not done in 3 years, you could extend that building permit. I think it's $75 fee, I think we said, to go another year. Currently, if you go over 2 years, you have to write a letter to the zoning board and say, this is why I'm held up. And that's all that was done. So that was a discussion we had multiple times in the past. So that is actually less restrictive than what the 2018 building code is. The 2018 building code says that if you don't start building within 180 days, or if 180 days pass and you're not doing any construction on it, then that it expires. That's what the 18 code says. Now, I don't know what the zoning board wants to do tonight or today, but part of what I was under the misunderstanding on is I thought the building code could go ahead and say that. And if we said it specifically in the zoning code that it's 3 years, that would be permissible, and it's not. The zoning code, because it's less restrictive, that has to be an amendment to the ordinance for the building code to make it legal. So, I mean, the zoning board can make a recommendation what you want to do. But if we try to back up on this one right now and say, well, let's go ahead and before we pass the zoning code, we want to amend the current building code ordinance. That's about a 3-month process. So
Please, Rachel.
my recommendation, and what Rachel should say, my recommendation is we leave it the way it's written in the amended part. It's at 180 days, and if the board so wishes, we start the process to amend the ordinance, the 2018 building code ordinance, if we want to extend it to the 3 years. That's all I'm going to say on that. If you got questions on that, don't understand it, I'll try to explain it another way, but Rachel's got something.
So I just want to clarify, building permits under the 2018 IRC are valid. The 180 days only happens if you have not started or received inspections within 6 months. So it's still valid for 3 years.
It is.
As long as you don't stop. And then there is a allowance that in writing, you can grant an extension, you just have to do it in 6 months.
6 months extension, not a year.
Yeah, it says, the building official may grant in writing 1 or more extensions of time for periods, not more than 80 days each. So this could be an ongoing every 6 months.
Oh, my.
It could be.
Yeah.
But there's
Might
fee
be
involved
needed.
in that. So I think the fee needs to be enough for the person building to get serious, but not so much to be prohibitive against seasons and a short building season. And it would be really, we have a longer than 6 month snow season. So for a town like this, I agree with you, Ed, if you can and you're allowed to amend it, we have good reason to do that in Pitkin. But it would not be difficult, and it would be, I think, responsible of the building department to stay on top of permits that are not active. And it just needs, there is no renewal fee currently. in the fee schedule, so that's something that's on the end of this list, but.
Yes, and being real close to the today, is $75 enough for that extension file?
I think if that's the minimum you wanna go,
I don't really want to get less than that. Anytime we call, there's going to be an hour shot.
I think it is very reasonable to ask, I think that's a reasonable sum. As a person that's trying to build, like, I would love it to be less, but I see your point, if it's an hour. it
Well,
should be a minute.
If you put in enough of them $75 extension tags, might motivate me to get the job finished. And it's going to take the inspector's time each time that 6 months rolls around. Sure.
But it's weird.
Okay.
It is 3 years, okay. So
You have that added to the.
no, because I know if we heard Josh or Josh.
Okay, all right. Well, I hadn't heard Josh Spring.
I'm good with both changes to H. So we're talking about both of them. We kind of went from one to the other. So I'm good the way the first one's written as far as the commenced with 180 days, and then I'm good with the second part of H. To include it in the fee schedule. Okay.
Roger, you been hearing what we're saying and what Josh just did say? Are you in agreement with that $180 days and $75 extension fee?
We cannot hear you, Roger. I think you are muted.
Maybe is renewed.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The commencement, authorized commencement starts within 180 days. What does commencement mean? Is this cement on the ground?
Did you hear what Ed was telling us that Hillary has gone through the process? If we change that 180 days, and what it's going to cost us in time on this 2026 zoning code?
No, I didn't get that.
Yes, it's going to move down the road at least minimum of 3 months more by the time
Okay.
it brings the postings and all that. So what's the phrase you used, Ed, about changing that 180 days if we need to?
We would have to amend the current ordinance that specifies 2018 building code. However, Rachel pointed out that the 18 building code does say up to 3 years. I did not see that, which doesn't surprise me.
Well, I sure haven't read the book that's as thick as one Rachel has. on
Yeah.
her lap.
I usually read the first chapter, the last chapter, but
Anyways, Roger, the extension or whatever you call that is, Rachel, the amendment of the building permit is $75. That's our recommendation at this point to the trustees.
So
And
is
that's
this just gonna,
180 days also, Roger. So that would motivate me to complete my project.
so is this just an extra burden on the building inspector to keep track of every permit and when commencement starts?
And I went through
Did
this.
that- all that stuff?
180 days, and I have a problem with 180 days. But I certainly appreciate Rachel's input on that 3 years. I believe if I were building my own new home today, I could live with 180 challenges.
okay, so we all right there? I
Is
think
that what I heard from you, Roger? You're okay with that then, as printed?
Well, if I were building my own house, I'd want to extend all those times. But if you got a contractor doing
Not
it,
hearing
yes,
from
they'll,
Roger, I think he's on that same page, but, so I'm ready to move on, please.
Okay, so section 8 mentions a renewal fee, but it does not exist in the fee schedule. So I know what Hillary's team had put on the fee schedule is they had added permit amendment or extension. So it is on the fee schedule there. We're okay with that, the way they put it on.
Yes, I'm very happy. I think we've already covered that basically, because that wasn't in this paragraph.
I'm good as well.
Okay. And section J indicates a permit fee payable upon receipt of application. There is no application fee. So we have not, in the past, we have not charged an application fee. But an application fee should be for the examination administration payable upon submission of the application. And the suggestion was $25 for non-structural and $250 for structural. A building permit fee shall be payable upon approval and based on the fee schedule. Building permit language can further explain, can either be a one-time fee or apply to permit cost if approved, forfeited if denied. So section from Hillary's team, section 17J was deleted entirely because it's now handled at the submission by proposed section 17.b.1.
And I did not have that printed. Can you share that, please?
I will. I'm going there now. 17.b.1 is. All applications for building permits shall be accompanied at a minimum by the following: all required application fees. So it is added there. And then the application fee was added. The amount's not added, or of course, Hillary's team is not going to add the amount because we've not had one. So it is added on the fee schedule at the top of the permit fees. So I guess the question for the zoning board would be, what do we feel is appropriate for an application fee that is basically non-refundable? And it's for the time spent by the building inspector to review all the different drawings to make sure they conform to the building code, to the wildfire resiliency code, possibly to the energy code. No, it would to the energy code. It does not have to look at electrical or plumbing, because the state does not. So I think the suggestion from Rachel was $25 for non-structural and $250 for structural applications.
Yes. And I went over Hillary's report to us also. And for residential and commercial, I would push for a $300 application fee. I do not want the application fee to get larger than when the building permit is issued with the initial cost of the building permit plus square footage. I don't want this application fee to exceed what that might be. Yes, because it's non-refundable if you don't get a building permit. It'd be kind of nasty to wind up with a building permit that ought to be $400 and have an application fee of $500. It's kind of embarrassing, and it might make somebody a little upset. But I don't think $300 out of line, and I have no problem with the $250 that Rachel or Levi recommended. Yeah,
I would just go with the recommended. If you want to do 250 or 300, that's fine.
and Roger, what's your input on that fee?
I'm not really sure why it's established unless you're going to have somebody on staff that, can do this.
You're not muted, but we cannot hear you, Roger.
Not sure where I'm supposed to talk into this
Are
computer.
you muted on your end? You're not muted on our end.
Okay, I'm not muted on this end either. Anyway.
We
I'm
still can't hear you, Roger. I don't know what's going on.
okay.
Let him work on that. I'm gonna, give my 2 cents for it.
Please go.
So if I look at say an accessory building. And we'll say a shed, 200 square foot shed. Which costs $300 for the building. Am I reading that right?
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on how we're gonna define not structural or structural. And you do not have to go with the recommendations you put down, but my thought was like if it's a fence or a sign. Or. Deck without footings. Or. Whatever else might fall under small changes, then that's why it was so low. And then anything that has engineering plans and site plans and everything else should be a little bit more hefty because it takes a lot more.
I agree with that.
So I don't know what you're asking. If an accessory building is not engineered like a garden shed, it could be 25.
Well, but if it's an accessory building. That's 200 square feet. Okay, that has to be engineered.
Correct.
Okay, that's kind of a building. So that building permit is $100 plus 50 square foot, so it's $200, I guess, for the total permit. Is my math right there?
Maybe our minimum.
If it's a 200 square foot building, yes, you're $200.
Just to not refine everybody.
My hesitation on it is. I think for the larger, like for a house plans or for large garage plans. I think that's worth it, just for an application fee because of all the things that have to be looked at. So.
And see, that's the reason I said 300 on the residential and commercial building. Now, when you get into accessory buildings, then that's a horse of a different color. Although I really had not considered it when I made my $300 comment. But I'm really, to the board and Rachel, I don't believe our building inspector is going to look at it for less than an hour. It's going to take an hour. And $25 an hour is not a builder's price per hour. And I think anybody that's worth his salt's worth $50 an hour. And it's not a bunch of hours. So you're not making much money there either. So I hate to get below that $75. So
I appreciate what Ed's concern is, so, and we don't want issues.
Right, so here's, I'll throw this out there. Residential building or commercial building is 300, 350, whatever that number is. But a garage attached, detached, or an accessory building, or covered porch or deck, maybe that's $100 application. And then everything else can be the 75 or maybe 25, 50, 75, it doesn't matter. I think even to look at setbacks, for the building inspector to look at a site plan, look at the setbacks, go visit the site, and go spit it out. And I think he will. I don't know if $75 on those is really that far out of line for an application fee. It's gonna go towards their permit fee if it's granted. So that's my 2 cents.
well, here's another 2 cents. I'm not so sure we shouldn't have 3 categories. $75 for non-structural and $100 for the accessory building type permit.
Where you have highlighted as blue. The garage, accessory building, and covered porch.
Yes, I could buy that and then jump it up to the 250 for a residential or commercial building. I would like to make a recommendation of 3 prices
That's where I was going. And I don't know, prices are. Very.
Ross, you're sitting there, you're teeth in your mouth. What's your prices on the recommendation on fee schedule?
300 is the commercial one. I agree.
So.
I think it's all kind of, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's expensive. Maybe people aren't gonna be going through this process too much as it is. Okay. I don't think people are gonna. And it saves you time for people submitting a bunch of stuff to the building department that they, just throwing stuff against the wall to see if it's approved, maybe they'll say no, but.
So what do you want for?
I want to get Roger's input. Roger, do you have those prices figured out? Because right now I have 250 on the floor and Josh has 300 on the floor for residential and commercial. Weigh in, please.
Okay. Yes, I'm not sure you can hear me, but,
Can I call
yeah.
him? Be valid, or does it have to come over Zoom?
I don't think it has to come over Zoom. It can be a call in, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you
I can send messages on Zoom.
Evidently he's hearing us, but we're not hearing him. Oh, this phone is. You guys.
No, we're having.
Because mine ended as soon as I dialed it. That same thing's happening this morning.
Well, Roger, if you can open up a chat box, it should be down at the bottom of your screen. You could type to us and I would read it out loud.
Just remember, we just need to go back to Jay.
Let me, I want to type this in there.
Lucinda,
Yes.
they can't hear me anymore. And, they want me to open up a chat box and say yes or no. And I don't know how to do that, so,
I don't either.
maybe you could figure out.
I'll just try to get on.
I have not seen any
What we're doing here.
come through. Let me see.
Roger, can you call my phone?
Down below.
And put you on speaker? To
Do you
qualify
see
them
your-
to come receive
No,
your
I
voice over Zoom?
clicked on something, and so I got it all screwed up now.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Let me go ahead. Well. About told. Are you 75?
Okay, well, I can't get my Zoom on. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to do it on
You
the
said-
phone.
I said 250 and Josh said 250.
250 is fine, I'm okay with that. If we can all come. to
Well, I see chat down here. I just opened it up,
Yeah.
House plans.
See,
and I'm not hearing them talk.
Thank you, Ramona. Please have a safe walk home.
have a safe trip this week, guys.
At the same time, I've looked at all the residential permits that are coming, it's going towards their permit fee, they're all well over 250. I think the amount would be okay, it's going to be a fine, what it would have paid anyway. So, just enough to keep them from.
Was the cover
Time.
porch 100?
Message here. Okay.
50. Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what we're talking about now.
Patio residential
Um,
in the application fee. Right.
application fee.
And then
And we have a consensus.
what about the fence? Was there a fence?
Accessory building. Covered portrait deck.
$75, and it's already on the.
Let's get, okay, so now we've got 4 different ones. We have 250, 100, 50 for a deck or patio,
Typing, so you'll
75.
push that.
permit fee is, but the application fee could still be 50. And
I
you
don't
just
wanna
apply it.
debate on the,
On the fees.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is,
okay.
these are-
Yes, this is just the application fee, not the building permit. Just
but at least these are lower than what they're gonna apply.
what they're paying, yeah.
Oh, okay. Roger says he is okay with it.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Roger.
Certainly appreciate it.
Technical difficulties.
Well, water well requires a permit.
Okay.
It's under K. So
Did that involve environmental health?
yeah, the water, my understanding is RWTS and water wells get permitted through the environmental health agency.
So my suggestion was take it out from under the building permit section. I think we would put it under.
Well,
Maybe under other or, yes,
Well, it's not, okay, where,
with,
I was under the impression it's under environmental health.
well, it is, but the only, I mean,
So it's actually on page 12,
it is for
J, and it starts with, yeah,
well,
so she crossed out a bunch of stuff. I guess it starts on page 11, the very, very bottom. And then
Yeah.
she redlined all of it, and then J is the name. All water wells drilled and pumps shall require permit.
it's not a building permit, and I don't think it should be under section 17 at all. I think it should be under other permits with your demolition.
Okay, so page 12, top of page 12.
I think demolition is section 16, it's very short.
Top of page 12.
oh no, before 17, no wonder I didn't find it.
Maybe section 16 could be renamed. Other permits required and below building permit. And it could be demolition and well. I guess my point is just, the building department does not have anything to do with.
With wells.
So we don't have it under the building.
I understand what you're saying. Just trying to. Okay. Yeah.
Turn this one off. Leave.
Section,
Okay, then I'll turn this off.
other. Permits required.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually put it after the building section. So
Oh, section.
We could possibly make it a section 17 and
Well, 17 would become 16.
section 18.
No, 16 would become, excuse me, 16 would be all the building stuff. 17 would be other than that's required.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
yes,
but they're not in yet.
but
Okay.
Well,
yeah, 16
I'll let him get caught.
as building. What is the title of section 17 now?
Building permits.
Building permit.
Building permit.
Or the section. Section 17 is other permits required. And
Now, can you put it?
just a second, where to go? I wanted to come down here. It will say all permits and
OWTS.
demolition. We don't have anywhere in the zoning code about the WTS permits. I would leave welcome that.
Because that's an environmental health.
Yeah, but what I don't wanna have happen is someone go through the zoning code and say, well, I'll have to have a well permit. Because they don't look at the. OWTS ordinance. I don't know if OWTS ordinance specifies. If the town requires a well permit, I think it's only in the zoning code that says that.
So Ed, couldn't you add it to E? So if you look at, section 17 building permits, and you go down to, it says no residential or business building permit. No residential or business building permit for new construction shall be issued until professional engineered on site. So OWTS and water supply design, so isn't it?
It is, my point is it shouldn't be mentioned.
At all.
In under the building inspector.
You got under section 17.
Building inspector.
Got it.
Right.
Held responsible for it.
And then fee schedule. You go over there, she might have to change it. Well is under building. And it should be, I think it should go. What? It should come out of that section and it should go right above the OWTS fee. And it should be
Oh.
well fee. Because it's its own thing. But the building department doesn't issue well permits. Okay, it's kind of-
I like to amp on this. Okay, that's all right. It needs to go. Please schedule. And do.
Okay.
It ought to say OWTS/well, is what it ought to say. Right here.
Or just have its own line,
Or have.
all together. Just manage permit,
Okay,
permit fee or something like
and
that.
then fee schedule. Would, well. Permit. Under. Its own. Well, it's noted there, so.
No, it still said, had to $75 on the well permit.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Nothing.
The real tough one is the TS setbacks. That is the most.
Well, and they go OWTS and well permits go hand in hand.
Right, the setbacks are very stringent.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So then this next section is just updating the fee schedule to match what we did above, and we've pretty much done.
Okay, so we examined the application fee, we did that. Patio, she added that. Instead of deck, it's patio. Added it. Well, fees and unbilled, just did that. Setback review, we covered that. So, other construction requirement permit is too ambiguous. And I know her recommendation is keep that as a catch-all.
Now, I want to back you up one question on the fence setback review.
Yeah.
And that, I said, is fence instead of a structure. Is back, just where I was in zoning code recommended for 2026. Have a little discrepancies out of what we're on the fence.
I think it would be, if it's not movable. I mean, if you had a temporary fence, that wouldn't need a building permit, because that, you know, got cattle gate and that, but if you have a fence and stuff. You can't move that.
Doesn't have a pillar and post, it just dig a hole in the plow hole.
Yeah.
And one of the examples, we have a place over here on Alpine Lane. Where a newly possessed property put foot before on its lane about 5 foot setback. Maybe that's considered structure, but this summer when they show up, I'm gonna request them move that post 5 feet. Lane as a setback required for fences on lane for that.
Yeah, but if they had to review and we called it structural and the building department looked at it, we probably wouldn't have an issue. Because you wouldn't have to be doing something.
Yeah, now, you're concerned. And
The definition, and this is the same the definition for a fence, structure.
Okay.
Always been there.
all right, thank you.
Additional plan review. So isn't that additional plan review, is that considered an amendment to plans?
It's pretty ambiguous. That's the issue. She said she changed it to go under amendment or extension.
Yeah.
But the one I have, it just says at the bottom here. Additional plan review dash all permit. And I asked the previous building inspector whatever fell into that. And he said any footprint changes or footprint changes or building square footage changes would take additional review instead of a brand. My suggestion just from an applicant's perspective is, and for consistency, like what do you mean by additional? It looks like the lawyer said just drop it under any amendment or extension to cover both of these issues. As long as it's a reasonable amount of money. If you submit a permit and then you drastically change your structure. If it's engineered, it's basically like starting over. But you're doing it under the same. It wouldn't always be that extreme, but that was kind of my reason why saying is flat fee plus however much an hour. Depending on bigness of the job. And I don't know that this happens very often, but I know it happened to the previous building inspector a few times where square footage would change, location would change. Yeah, just basically if you do everything you've done for understanding.
Moving the wall within a structure is not much of a change to me, but my land, if you change any add footers or anything like that, that's a major change. And
Well,
I don't like the building permit saying you can build my garage 40 by 40 and get it all approved and setbacks are checked, everything's up and going, and then, oh, I believe I'm gonna change it to 40 by 60. That is a major change, and I almost, from building inspector's perspective, I almost think that's a whole brand project. I wasn't just thinking about it, but
well, one of the things I see is, we made a comment there, but I say the building, all the plans were submitted, the site plan and everything's submitted. And then they say, well, instead of putting it over here, I want to move it over here. Well, then the plans are all the same, except for the site plan has changed now, so then we gotta go back and look at setbacks and where the well is, where the septic is, usually it fits. Can that all be done within an hour?
maybe not.
So that's where I'm at, is I like the idea of maybe it's $75 for that bid amendment for the first hour. And then 75 for every hour after that, and I don't know.
Or maybe 100 for the first hour and 75 additional hour.
That was a recommendation.
Because that first hour is. You're gonna have to come up. If it is an emergency and the inspector has to come off his own project, he's working on being paid for, working for me, and he wants to come to you, Ed. He's gonna have to shut down. That first hour is pretty pricey to the building.
I think,
But probably he would do that, but not if it was reversed.
I think like you suggested, we should front load.
What?
The greater amount should be in beginnings and then lesser additional.
$100 first hour, $75
Yes.
additional.
So why don't we leave fee schedule, leave permit extension, 75 homes. Put another separate line, permit amendment at $100 plus,
First hour,
yeah, $100 for the first hour, $75 for every hour thereafter.
That looks like,
Well, you got time to. That helps. So. ZBA. So we have. Yeah. Stitch. 75, that really doesn't fit here, but it just helps me remember where. And then, yeah.
I say something.
go ahead, Nancy.
So it might be too kind of premature, but we've come to the end of the list. I just want to thank you all for your time tonight. From experience, what it's like to sit side of the table and go through these things. And I did have it in mind trying to create it, but these clarifications, and I know they're not done yet, but they're gonna make a difference. And another thing that I have noticed is people try to calculate their own permit fees when they submit, and those are not very accurate. And this application fee is gonna make that process so much better for the applicant. And Stacy,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it has been confusing at times.
Stacy, anytime you are, get a hold of one group to help enlighten you or even come to you instead.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jesse James. I
so
appreciate it.
yeah, I just want to thank you so much. That you give.
Well, that reverse, thank you all the time.
And in light of that, not on. All right. I'm down to the bottom. This zoning board input to the trustees on our 2026 zoning code recommendations to the trustees. Anything else you want to add in this category?
no, this is Josh. I make a motion that we approve the proposal revision and send it to the board of trustees.
Fantastic. Roger, would you like to second that?
Sorry, Roger, we can't hear you, but you could type it to me.
I was trying to type it, but if you can hear me, yes,
Did you get
I'm happy with saying goodnight.
Not quite yet. I have a feeling he's going to, though.
depends how, I don't want to bypass you, Roger. The chairman, Jess, can second it. Any more discussion? Not all those in favor of sending our corrections, additions and recommendations to the trustees. Say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Roger, did you have a thumbs up?
Yes. If I can get it to go.
You're lit up. I'm gonna assume that that's a yes. You did vote for
Yeah.
that.
All right, we're putting you down as
So
a
be it.
signing off.
Yes. The only other thing, did y'all get copies of the update on the building permit application sheet? The status? Any questions there? I'm happy with them. Did you get that? It's not an agenda item, it's just an update to the zoning board that where we're standing. I don't know if that went to the zoning board or just board question.
Yeah, I didn't see it. So.
Part of the commissioner.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, anyway, it's.
I can send that to you if you want it. Oh, well, let's get the new one and
We're
then
gonna
send it
do
to you.
Actually, when you get that.
Yes.
we'll
Yes.
Send it to the zoning
Okay, sounds good.
board.
Just write it down because I'll never remember. That'd be very helpful. I appreciate you.
All right. You got something down before I ask for a agenda motion, adjournment motion?
Thank you, Roger.
I thought you had an adjournment motion, and I thought we voted on that too, but we didn't.
We did not yet, no. We still need to.
Okay. 9:02. Sure. Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And Roger, I think you're probably gonna be in favor of that, so I'm gonna vote for yes.
He's got a pile of yeses over here for me at this point, so I think we're good. Thank you, Roger.
Okay.
Difficulties.
All right, thank you, Thomas Kelly and Roger for being on Zoom and Rachel and Ramon and Patrice in the audience.
Thank you.
Hallelujah. Good night.
Good night.